Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so we are all going to chant together, praying to the Lord to engage us in His service. So we will chant the holy names of the Lord and connect to Him by chanting. So, and also chanting the holy names of the Lord is a solution for all the problems that's plaguing the world now. So we can chant together with focus and attention. We will try to pull our mind and senses into the chanting of the holy name. Okay, so who wants to lead us in chanting? 21 times, and then everyone else can chant along. With that,
can I do it?
Yes, Shaurya. Thank you. So let's all begin. This is mantra meditation. So we are going to focus our mind and attention, and in a prayerful mood, we are going to chant 21 times along with Shaurya. Okay, go ahead, Shaurya.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Wow, Shaurya, that was so nice, meditative, calm, quiet, relaxed chanting, Shaurya. I liked it very much.
Mataji.
You did it very nice. You yourself put yourself in the chanting, so the vibration was so good, and we could also follow along with you. Thank you so Actually, last week we completed the 13th chapter. So today I thought we would revise the 13th chapter. And while revising, I can possibly make note of some possible questions. Then we can prepare for the questions for the test. Okay, let me screen share. Okay, so we were doing chapter 13. And okay, so we may not have time to read all the translations because we will be concentrating on the shlokas that we memorized and we'll be revising them. So, but let's start this. Okay, maybe text 1 and 2. Who wants to read the translations?
Mataji, I can.
Yes, yes, Aditya.
This is Srinidhi.
Oh yeah, Srinidhi, yes.
Arjuna said, "Oh my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field and the knower of the field, and of knowledge and the object of knowledge." The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field."
Thank you, Srinidhi. So my question is, what is Arjuna wanting to know about?
He wants to know,
You can
like
list
he
all
wants,
of them.
huh?
You can list all of them.
Oh, okay. So he wants to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, the field, the knower of the field, the knowledge and the object of knowledge.
Okay, so totally how many?
6.
6. Very good. And for that, the second verse, what does Krishna answer?
He answers, who is the field? Like who is like what is the field and who is the knower? Like who is the knower of the field?
Wonderful, Srinidhi. Very good. Thank you. Yeah. So Krishna answered that the body is called the field, and one who knows the body is called the knower of the field. Then in the text 3 and 4 till 7, he answers what is Purusha and who's the enjoyer and the field and the knower of field. That's what he answered. So Prakriti, and then he's coming about knowledge. So that knowledge he is answering in text 8 to 9, 8 to 12. So we did this text. So we will take turns and read each text. This is, please memorize. This is, since we learned this, we have to memorize this. So who wants to read the first
I can,
one?
Mataji.
Yes, go ahead.
अमानित्वम् अदम्भित्वम् अहिंसा क्षान्तिरार्जवम् आचार्योपासनं शौचं स्थैर्यम् आत्मविनिग्रहः.
Thank you, Aditya. Who wants to read the next?
I'll read it, Mataji.
Yes, Srilasya.
Okay. Wait, do I read the verse?
Yeah, is it okay to read the verse?
Indriyateshu vairagyam anakara
Ankara.
evacha janma mrityu jaravati dukkha
Shanu.
dosanudasanam.
You did a good job, Srilasya. I know you've been joining only a couple weeks before. We did this long back, but you did a good job in reading the Sanskrit. Thank you. Okay, who wants to read the next one? Asaktir.
Can I do it, Mataji?
Yes, Shaurya.
Asaktir anabhisvanga putradara grahadishu nityam cha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu.
That's wonderful. Okay, the last two verses, the Maicha Ananya, who wants to do?
Can I do that?
Yes, Divyansh.
So I read until Jana Samsadi.
Yes, exactly.
Maye chan nanya yogena bhaktir avaibikarini
Charini.
charini vivikta desa savitvam arati jana samsadi.
Very good, Divyansh. Good job. Good job. Okay, who's going to do the last one?
I can, Mataji.
Yes, Aditya.
अध्यात्मज्ञाननित्यत्वं तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यदतोऽन्यथा.
Very good. Thank you. So we did the word by word translations for this. So right now, I'm going to I'm going to say the English or the Sanskrit, and you need to find out what the other one. Okay, for example, now I'm going to say, what is Ajnanam?
Ignorance.
Sorry?
Ignorance.
Good job. So just search through the synonyms and tell the answer. Okay. So what is dukkha?
Also,
No, it's dukkha.
I thought you said
Of the distress.
Of the distress. Very good. So 2 points for Aditya. Shaucham.
Cleanliness.
Wow, that's nice. Bhakti. Bhakti.
Devotion. Yes, I beat you,
Devotion.
Srinidhi. There you go. Take that.
No, Srinidhi, almost you and her did the same. Good job. Okay. Acharya Upasanam.
approaching a bona fide spiritual master.
You got it, Srinidhi. Okay. Kshantihi.
Tolerance.
Good job. Okay. What is for humility?
Amanitam.
Very good. Okay. Avyabhicharini.
Without any break.
Wow, that's Aditya again. Okay. The next one is Ahimsa.
Nonviolence. I mean,
Good job.
I didn't really look at the text for that one.
I know. That's okay. I mean, I just wanted you to find from the text. Okay. So this is the list of the qualities that he says that all this is knowledge, and whatever besides this is ignorance. So who wants to read this translation?
Mataji, I can.
Yes, Srinidhi, go ahead.
Humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglements with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness, amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization and the philosophical search for the absolute truth. All of these I declare to be knowledge, and beside this, whatever there may be is ignorance.
Thank you, Srinidhi. So this looks like a big translation, of course, of 5 verses, but these are very, very important for us to know, repeatedly read and remember and cultivate this. So we have to cultivate this knowledge, we have to cultivate these qualities and see whether we are in knowledge or we are in ignorance. So after explaining Krishna, Prabhupada gave big purports, let me, maybe you may not remember, but still I'm going to ask in the test a few of these. So I will go through them. What does non-violence mean?
Not inflicting harm on other people.
Yeah, that's generally not inflicting harm, but there is one different meaning beyond that Srila Prabhupada is giving here.
Like to not killing or destroying the body, but like that's like what generally means. But it says here that it's not to put others in distress as well, like to
Yes.
make them upset.
Yeah, that's true. And also, if you continue to read, you'll find more clearly what Srila Prabhupada calls as non-violence from this paragraph. You can read and explain to me in your words.
Nonviolence is helping elevate people to spiritual knowledge.
Wonderful, Shaurya, right? See, helping elevate people to spiritual knowledge because they're suffering. People are suffering without spiritual knowledge. They don't know that if they're doing something, they're going to get the result and they're going to suffer in the future. They don't know that. And so they are doing. But we know that they're going to suffer in the future for what they are doing now, some activities, not everything. So if we don't tell them, then how will they know? Right? So it is said that unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence. This is a definite question in the test. So unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge. So in order to elevate people to spiritual knowledge, what should we do? The primary thing that we should do.
Like distribute the knowledge.
Okay. How do we distribute the knowledge?
By chanting. And like,
very good. By chanting ourselves. And so, I mean, for example, to distribute a cake, I'm asking Shaurya, please distribute the cake. So what should you have to distribute it?
people.
Okay, people, but for
A knife.
A knife, plate, packing
Sorry?
box.
What is that?
A knife, plates.
Yeah. Okay, knife
The
and
cake
plates.
itself.
And importantly, what he should have?
The cake.
The cake, yes, Anshu. If you don't have the cake, how can you distribute it? Right? So similarly, if you want to distribute spiritual knowledge, what you should have first?
The spiritual knowledge.
Exactly right. So we should cultivate the spiritual knowledge every single day. Otherwise, we will not be able to give them, or we will guide them wrongly, and that is again violence. So spiritual knowledge is not something that it will come automatically on its own. Like as Anshu said, we need to chant, we need to follow the regulative principles, and also we need to read Bhagavad Gita every day. It may look like, oh, it's very philosophical, and no, Bhagavad Gita is the book of Krishna, right? He himself spoke it. You can develop a personal relationship with the Lord by reading Bhagavad Gita every day. Okay, even if you have read it, if you know the chapters, but just go through one or two shlokas, just read the purport. Sometimes you may not be able to, you may not, everything will not make sense to you, but that's okay. Just read it as an offering to the Lord. So in that way, we will get spiritual knowledge. We will always be in touch with spiritual knowledge. And if we are in touch with spiritual knowledge, then we will naturally distribute it. Okay, so, okay. And give me an example of a few devotees who practice tolerance.
Prahlad Maharaj.
Very good. That's mentioned here. Prahlad Maharaj. Very nice. So, and anybody else?
The Pandavas.
Very good example. Yes, the Pandavas. They were never angry. They were never, they never wished Duryodhan bad. Although Duryodhan wanted to always kill them. Okay, they were very tolerant. Very good. And one more
Srila
famous.
Prabhupada.
Yes, Divyan, Srila Prabhupada was very tolerant. We didn't know many things, the early disciples, but he was very tolerant. And yeah, he was teaching them. Okay, and one more person who literally tolerated the heavy beatings. He was thrashed with big, huge canes that was fitted with glass particles. So the whole body would be bleeding, and it said that 3 such lashes of that cane, a person will die. But he was tolerating all that. Do you remember who's that?
Haridas.
Wow, you got it, Srinidhi. Yes. Haridas Thakur. Yes, Haridas Thakur was beaten in marketplace because he was chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra so severely, but he wouldn't. He did not. Nothing. They could do nothing for him. And in fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was showing his Mahaprakash Leela, that means that is the only time he disclosed that he is Krishna and he is the Lord. And at that
Mataji,
time,
didn't he say that he took the beatings for Haridas Thakur?
exactly, that's what I was about to say. So he said that I took the beatings of you and I would have killed them with my Sudarshan Chakra, but you were praying for them. When they were beating you, what you were doing? You were praying for them that please forgive them. So I couldn't do anything to them because you were praying. So there is one other great personality who prayed for someone who was crucifying him. Do you remember who's that? A great personality who prayed, "Oh Lord, please forgive them, for they know not what they are doing." And while he was praying, what they were doing? They were putting nails. They were nailing him. They were putting his 2 legs together and nailing both the knees together, and his hands were nailed. His head was nailed, like literally putting nails with a hammer.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, Aditya. Yes, Jesus
Um,
Christ.
That
He was a
that was me, Mataji.
Oh, it was you again. Okay.
Anna, my brother unmuted while I was saying so.
Oh, okay. That's so smart. So that I can think it was he. No, just kidding. Okay, yes, it was Jesus Christ. And do you want to see who mentions this? Do you remember we did that in the 11th chapter? In the 11th chapter, Srila Prabhupada mentions about Jesus Christ. Yeah. Can you read this paragraph? A devotee of Krishna. Who wants to read?
Can I do it, Mataji?
Yes.
A devotee of Krishna is friendly to everyone. Therefore, it is said here that he has no enemy, nirvaira. How is this? A devotee situated in Krishna consciousness knows that only devotional service to Krishna can relieve a person from all the problems of life. He has personal experience of this, and therefore he wants to introduce this system, Krishna consciousness, into human society. There are many examples in history of devotees of the Lord who risked their lives but for the spreading of God consciousness. The favorite example is Lord Jesus Christ. He was crucified by the non-devotees, but he sacrificed his life for spreading God consciousness Of course, it would be superficial to understand that he was killed. Similarly, in India, also there are many examples, such as Thakur Haridas and Prahlad Maharaj. Why such risk? Because they wanted to spread Krishna consciousness, and it is difficult. A Krishna conscious person knows that if a man is suffering, it is due to his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. Therefore, the highest benefit one can render to human society is relieving one's neighbor from all material problems. In such a way, a pure devotee is engaged in the service of the Lord. Now, we can imagine how merciful Krishna is to those engaged in his service, risking everything for him. Therefore, it is certain that such persons must reach the supreme planet after leaving the body.
Yes. Wow. So Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, right, how Jesus Christ tolerated, and also Thakur Haridas and Prahlad Maharaj, and they risked their life and they were spreading Krishna consciousness. Because of that, they're very dear to the Lord. Okay, so let's go to chapter 13. So we did the first, we were doing the 8 to 12. And okay, I'm going to ask you one more question. No, it's not chapter 13. So if I'm asking a question that what is the most important of all these qualities? There's so many qualities here. And
maybe humility.
I think it's approaching a bona fide spiritual master, because they'll guide you toward pursuing all of these qualities.
That's wonderful, Shaurya. Yes, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Nonviolence is also very important, because if you're violent, then people won't believe in you.
Right, Divyansh, yes. Okay, all of these are right, but from this paragraph, can you pick out what is the of all the most important point what Srila Prabhupada says?
I'm not sure.
Yes. What's the most important point of all the process of knowledge?
Unalloyed devotion to the Lord.
Unalloyed devotion.
Right. So why it's important? Because he says if one does not approach or is not able to approach the transcendental service of the Lord, then the other 19 items are of no particular value. But if one takes to devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, the other 19 items automatically develop within him. You see? So that's why it's more important. It's most important. And of course, by approaching a bona fide spiritual master, only we can start to perform devotional service. Okay, so this is something that I'm going to ask also in the test. Okay, let me ask you. We did non-violence, we did tolerance, we did simplicity. Okay, what are the two types of cleanliness and how are they achieved?
Internal and external cleanliness.
Very good. And how is each one of them achieved?
External cleanliness, you can like take a bath and cleanse yourself with like soap and water. And internal cleanliness is you have to like think about the Lord and let him fill your mind so you can be peaceful.
Yeah, especially what is the process that's recommended to think about the Lord?
Chanting the
Chanting.
Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
Very, very good. Yes, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is like taking a mantra bath. you know, the mind, the bath for the mind, the shower for the mind is the Maha Mantra. If we don't shower the mind with Maha Mantra, then the mind becomes dusty, like how the body, if you have not showered or taken a bath, the body is dusty and dirty, and you feel not enthusiastic, you feel dull. But then if you take a bath, you feel fresh. Similarly, mind also have to be given a bath in this mantra early in the morning, so that we are fresh throughout the day. Okay. So the next possible question would be, why should one understand the distress of birth, death, old age, and disease?
What, Mataji? What's the question?
Why should we try to understand? Prahalad, you know the verse, right? Janma Mrityu. Can you say that?
Okay. Indriyarteshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu chara vyadhi dukkha doshan darshanam.
Okay, so here it is mentioned that one should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age, and disease. So my question is, why?
You should. Wait, can you say it again? Like, why should you accept?
Why should you understand that birth, death, old age, and disease are distresses?
Because if you don't even understand it, then you'll never know how to transcend it. Because you first need to know how, like, what it is, and then you can like think of like how to like for yourself to get rid of it.
It's a fact of life. So, because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu, dhruvam janma mritasya cha, tasmad pariharyerte natvam sochitumarhasi."
Very good, Shaurya. That's a beautiful quoting. Yes. So he says it's a fact of life, but then people may say it's a fact of life. Why are you bothering about it? Why consider that they are items of distress?
Because then you'll never know how to transcend it and go to this.
Yes, that's the thing. So you see, unless we have a pessimistic view of the material life, pessimistic means negative. Considering the distresses of birth, death, old age, and disease, there is no impetus for our making advancement in spiritual life. Right? If one doesn't consider this, then he will think, why should I get spiritual life? What do I get by going to the spiritual world? If we don't educate ourselves or have knowledge of these things, we will not have any impetus to chant. Chanting is sometimes, it's not that very palatable, like watching TV or eating ice cream or something like that. But still we tell ourselves to chant. Why? Because by chanting, our association with Krishna is guaranteed and our spiritual life is awakening. If not, then day after day goes and suddenly we don't know when we have to leave the body. At that time, we will not be able to think of the Lord, right?
So I can like answer some questions.
What is that?
I'm right now eating, so I can't answer some questions.
Okay. So yes, so this is what we need to do. Okay, what is the beginning point of knowledge? And what is the last word of knowledge?
Humility to the realization of the supreme truth.
Very good. So can you tell me what's humility in Sanskrit?
Amanitvam?
Very good, Aditya. And what is realization of the supreme truth in Sanskrit? is realization of absolute supreme truth in Sanskrit? Let's go back to the verse. Yeah, now I think you can get it.
Is it like
This one, Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam. Okay, so this is the last item that he's saying. That is, if you see that the philosophical search for the absolute truth, that is Tattva Jnana is of the knowledge of the truth, Artha is for the object, Darshanam is philosophy. So philosophical search for the absolute truth is knowledge. So all these things, so this is another question. So the beginning is humility and the last is understanding the Supreme Lord. Okay, so that's, oops, we haven't revised much at all. Okay, so we did this 8 to 12 and then I think we did 15. Then he starts to explain after 12th verse who's a super soul, because the knowledge and the object of knowledge. So he explained in 8 to 12 verses the knowledge and object of knowledge means who, what is the goal of knowledge? By getting this knowledge, who we have to attain. So that is the super soul and the supreme personality of Godhead. Here he specifically explains about the super soul. Okay, who can read this verse and translation?
Can I try, Mataji?
Yes.
Can I try?
Yes, Pralad.
Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarshitam asaktam sarvabhrichaiva gunam kanabhoktacha.
Thank you, Pralad. Can anyone else read the translation?
Can I do it, Mataji?
Yes, Shaurya.
The supersoul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he is the master of all modes of material nature.
Yeah. So who's this verse talking about? The super soul, right? Super soul. And can you mention 2 contradictions that is mentioned here?
It says he's a source of the senses, but he doesn't have senses, and he transcends the modes of material nature, but at the same time he's the master of all the modes of material nature.
Very good, Aditya. Very good. So he is the source of all the senses, but he doesn't have any senses. That means he's a source of our material senses, but he doesn't have any material senses. So he's a master of the modes of material nature, but he transcends them. He's not like us. We are inside the modes of material nature. So we did 13 and then I think I'll put this in a doc and send it so that all of you can read this particular verses. So after 15, he's explaining more about the super
21.
21. 21 or 22?
It was 21.
No, I think I did 22 here. Okay.
Yeah, I think you did 22.
Yeah, did we do this here? Karya?
No, it was 22.
22, okay. Okay, so 22. Who can read this?
Can I read it, Mataji?
Yes, Srilasya.
Okay. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the 3 modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species.
Thank you, Srilasya. Anyone can anyone read the shloka?
Yes, Mataji, I can read it.
Yes, go ahead.
Purusha prakritisto hi bhunte prakritijan gunan karanam guna sangosya sadasadyoni janmasu.
Very good. So what is Krishna saying? Because of our association with the modes of nature, then sometimes we are meeting with good, sometimes we have good, we are in the good species, in the body of good species, sometimes we are in the body of evil species. It depends on whether we are choosing goodness, choosing passion, and choosing ignorance, and that's a choice that we have every single moment. Not that you're initiated, you're chanting, you're a devotee for a long time, so you're automatically in the mode of goodness. No. Every single moment, every single day, we have this choice to make. Which mode of nature am I choosing? So depending on the mode of the nature that I choose, the destination I get is either good or evil. If I choose goodness, then I get a good body. If I choose ignorance, then we might end up any species. For example, this is I wanted to read this. Under the influence of material desire, the entity is born sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a man, sometimes as a beast, as a bird, as a worm, as an aquatic, as a saintly man, as a bug. This is going on. So this is because of our choice of the three modes of material nature. So then he explains that how by chanting Krishna's names and being associated with Krishna with the help of the devotees, then we can always at least be in the mode of goodness and then transcend it also. Okay, so we did 22 and I think we did 23.
Can you try saying the verse, Mataji?
Yeah, let me see if anyone else wants to read Prahlad, who has not gotten a chance so far.
I can also read Mataji, but
Yes, Aditya, okay.
Upadrishtanumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwara paramadmedi chapyukto dehesmin purushah para.
Very good. Thank you for reading so nicely. And who wants to read the translation?
Mataji, can I?
Yes, Shreya.
Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the supersoul.
Is this Shreya from Australia?
No, Mataji. I'm from Charlotte.
Oh, you're from Charlotte. Okay, okay. I used to have one Shreya joining from Australia. Yeah. Okay, so here it's an open question. Anyone can answer. Tell me, list all the qualities that is given of the super soul here.
Transcendental enjoyer, the
Very
Lord,
good.
the supreme proprietor, and the overseer, permitter, and obviously the super soul.
Yes, thank you, Aditya. So the super soul or Paramatma is having all these qualities. Who is this? He's a transcendental enjoyer, means he is not enjoying like us within the modes of material nature. We are the servant and he is the Lord. We may be small proprietors of something. You may have a own house, or you may have your room and the furnitures and the toys and the books and your school bag and your watch and your phone. We are small, tiny proprietors, but he's the supreme proprietor. He exists as the overseer and permitter, but unless he permits, we can't do anything. So we are the ones who seeking permission, and whether we want or not, he's always constantly watching us, because he's in the heart. He knows whether we are lying, whether we are telling the truth, and at any point of time, the data is available. How much I have lied in this life from since the beginning of I know what I'm doing. I don't know. I mean, if you ask me how much you have lied in the life, I don't remember. I don't know, but the super soul knows. Exactly. You know, you have lied this many 100,000 million times. So that means because he's always the overseer. So he's there in the heart. Even your closest friend or your mom or your dad or your sibling is not close. They're not there in your heart, right? You can sometimes, say some lies and escape them, escape being caught by your parents or your sibling or your brother or something. But there is one person who's closer to you than your own family. Who's that?
Krishna.
Krishna. And Krishna as what? Krishna as?
Supreme Soul.
Yeah, the super soul or Paramatma who's present in our heart. So he's the closest of all. So he's constantly watching us. So I think we did 29 after that. No? Oh, wow. Okay. I think we did. This is the last verse that we did, right? Okay, let's take turns and read the translation starting from 24 up to the end of this chapter. Who can read?
Can I read the first one, Mataji?
Yes, Prahlad.
Text 24. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position.
Thank you, Prahlad. Who can read 25 and 26?
Can I read it, Mataji?
Yes, Shilasya.
Some perceive the super soul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruitive desires. Again, there are those who, although not conservant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death.
Thank you, Shilasya. So he's saying more about how, I mean, it may be not very interesting like stories to understand the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, but if we are doing that, we will not take birth again. So we shouldn't be lazy, even though it may look little, oh, it's not little kind of boring, but the result is great. And we are going to we will understand how we act, how we should not act, and what we get by acting good. All those things we understand from Bhagavad Gita. So that's the favorite book. Okay, 27, 28. Who can read?
Can I do it, Mataji?
Yes, yes.
O chief of the Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. One who sees the supersoul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the supersoul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, actually sees.
Very nice. You read wonderfully. So he says that always we should see the super soul. Oh, it's too much, is that? I don't think we'll be able to finish it. Okay. So he's saying that we have to always see the presence of the super soul in every living being and in others also. It's not easy, but we have to keep trying. That's why we always have to read, and so we know that we have to see everyone, the super soul present in everyone. So when we see the super soul present in everyone, would we hurt that person?
No.
Can you give an example from the scriptures? A great devotee who saw the presence of super soul and didn't want to hurt that species. Okay, I'll give you a clue. This is a very
What are
famous.
we doing, Mataji? Are we doing Kahoot, maybe?
No, I'm so sorry. I did not make Kahoot. This was a revision. Okay, so who is that great devotee who saw the presence of the super soul in the heart of every living being, and he didn't want to step over it and hurt that? That's a clue. Do you want one more clue?
Yes.
Yes, Mataji.
He was walking and carrying the palanquin of a king.
Oh, is it Jadabharata?
Yes, Aditya, you got it. So what did Jadabharata, why was the king Rahugana upset with Jadabharata?
Because he was like, there were ants, I think, and
Yes.
he was like moving out of the way so he doesn't step on the ants. So he was like, the palanquin was rocking.
Right, you see? So Jadabharata was seeing the presence of super soul and the soul inside the ant body. He did not see the ant. He saw the presence of super soul and the soul inside the ant's body, and he didn't want to step on that. So that is a vision. So if you suppose the so many innocent people got killed, right, in many places in the world, in the name of religion, in the name of hate, in the name of communities, many people kill the other people, right, indiscriminately. But do you think if they knew and understood that the presence of the super soul in others' bodies, would they do this heinous act?
No, Mataji.
Never.
Right? Yes. So they will not do, at least they will not kill the fellow human beings. So that's why it's very important to give this knowledge to everyone, so that everyone becomes peaceful, and they become non-violent, and society becomes peaceful. Okay, so since it's time up, it's been 1 hour since we started, we will end here. But before that, I want you to say if you have learned any point today, maybe 1 or 2 points at one point from the whole discussion. So we
So
discussed.
Mataji, I understood that like everyone has like a supreme soul in their like bodies, and like so like you should not harm anyone.
Very good, Anshu. Very, very good. Thank you, Anshu.
I learned that the approaching bona fide spiritual master is one of the best things that we can do, because their guidance is the thing that can help us get out of this material world.
Thank you, Aditya. That's a beautiful point. Anything else? So we all should remember that the super soul from the heart is the closest friend of us, and he's always constantly watching us from life after life after life. So we are responsible for what we think and what we act. Okay, so do you have any questions? Okay, thank you, Shreya. I think Shreya left. So thank you everyone for joining. So we will conclude the session here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Srila Sya, Aditya, Srinidhi, Prahlad for joining today.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Vinita Mataji. Hare Krishna.